You feel that? That's not just the excitement of a Monday night. That's the aftershock. We are living in the fallout of a physical disaster that no one, not the writers, not the producers, not even the security team, saw coming. They say when two unstoppable forces meet, something has to give. But tonight, on Monday Night Raw, nothing gave. Both men simply decided to tear the world down around them until there was nothing left to stand on. We've seen big man brawls before. We've seen the giants collide. But what we witnessed tonight between Oba Femi and the Bulgarian brute Rusev? That wasn't a wrestling segment. That was a localized earthquake. Welcome to a special, deep dive edition of Wrestling Impact. If you're just joining us, brace yourself, because the footage we're about to dissect is visceral. Tonight, the hierarchy of the WWE landscape didn't just change, it was pulverized. We are looking at the full, unedited timeline of the war between the most dominant NXT champion in history, Oba Femi, and a man who has redefined himself as the most dangerous veteran on the planet, Rusev. This is the story of two men who refused to blink, two cultures clashing, and a ring that simply wasn't big enough to hold both of their egos. To understand the carnage of tonight, you have to understand the psychological warfare that's been simmering for weeks. Ever since Oba Femi stepped onto the main roster, he hasn't just been winning. He's been insulting the very idea of competition. He walks through the locker room like he's inspecting a group of peasants. He's called the Legends relics and the current stars placeholders. He hasn't just vacated the NXT North American title, he's acted like he outgrew it, like the gold was too light for his ambition. He's been looking for a mountain to climb, but all he found were hills. Then, there's Rusev. Since his return, he hasn't been interested in the Rusev Day cheers or the accolades of the past. He's been a silent shadow, a man who looks like he's been forged in a different, darker era of the sport. He's been watching Femi from the rafters, from the shadows of the gorilla position, just waiting for the young lion to roar loud enough to get his attention. And boy, did Femi roar. The night started with Femi in the ring against a local competitor, a kid who looked like he wanted to be anywhere else on earth. Femi didn't just beat him, he toyed with him. He hit a stalling suplex that lasted 45 seconds, looking directly into the hard cam the entire time, essentially telling the world, I am bored. But the boredom ended the second those heavy, Slavic drums hit the PA system. The Bulgarian brute didn't come out with a tank. He didn't come out with a flag. He came out with a look in his eyes that suggested he was ready to go to prison for what he was about to do. Rusev didn't even use the ramp. He hopped the barricade near the timekeeper's area, bypassed the ring steps, and slid under the bottom rope like a man half his size. The air in the arena turned cold. The crowd, which had been cheering for Femi's dominance, suddenly shifted into a state of stunned silence. Femi didn't move. He didn't drop his guard. He just stood there, towering over Rusev, his massive chest heaving. Rusev walked right into Femi's personal space. We're talking inches, folks. You could see the steam rising off their bodies. Rusev didn't grab a mic first. He just slapped Femi. Not a theatrical wrestling slap, but a stiff, open palm strike that echoed like a gunshot throughout the arena. Femi's head snapped to the side. The crowd gasped. Femi slowly turned his head back, a drop of blood already forming on his cheek, and he didn't scream. He laughed. It was a low, terrifying rumble. And then, the dam broke. Femi lunged, grabbing Rusev by the waist and driving him into the turnbuckle with the force of a freight train. The ring actually shifted 3 inches to the left. But Rusev is built like a brick wall. He fired back with European uppercuts that looked like they were trying to detach Femi's jaw. The referee tried to intervene, calling for the bell to start an official match, but Femi grabbed the ref by his shirt and tossed him over the top rope like he was a bag of trash. That was the signal, the rules were dead. The brawl spilled to the outside. This is where things got cinematic. Femi grabbed a steel chair and bent it over Rusev's back, but Rusev didn't fall. He turned around, grabbed the chair, and ripped it out of Femi's hands with sheer, raw strength. He smashed the chair into the ring post, effectively turning it into a jagged piece of scrap metal, and used it to gouge at Femi's forehead. The Nigerian ruler was leaking crimson, but it only seemed to fuel him. He caught Rusev in a bear hug, lifting him off the floor and running him spine-first into the LED barricade. The screen shattered. Sparks flew. Fans in the front row were falling over themselves to get away from the shrapnel. At one point, they fought through the crowd, up into the lower bowl of the arena. Imagine being a fan with a hot dog in your hand and suddenly, 600 pounds of angry muscle comes tumbling over your seat. Femi was using anything he could find: trash cans, fans' jackets, even a souvenir championship belt to bludgeon Rusev. But the veteran had an answer for everything. Rusev found a production cable and wrapped it around Femi's throat, dragging him back toward the ringside area like a captured beast. Back at ringside, the commentary team was in a panic. Michael Cole was shouting for help, Wade Barrett was calling for the locker room to empty, and the fans were chanting "Let them fight" at the top of their lungs. Femi broke free of the cable by backbody dropping Rusev onto the concrete floor. The sound was hollow and sickening, but Rusev, fueled by something primal, crawled toward the announce table. He wasn't retreating, he was setting a trap. As Femi approached, looking to deliver a final blow, Rusev surged up and caught him with a machka kick that was so stiff it sent Femi's mouthguard flying into the fifth row. Femi stumbled, dazed, and that's when Rusev cleared the table. He threw the monitors, the headsets, and the scripts aside. He climbed up, beckoning the ruler to join him in the clouds. Femi, bleeding and battered, climbed up to meet him. They stood on that table for what felt like an eternity. Two titans, silhouetted against the arena lights, trading punches that would have knocked out any other 10 men on the roster. The table was groaning under the weight. You could hear the wood splintering. Rusev went for the accolade, but Femi's sheer size made it impossible to lock in. Instead, Femi gripped Rusev's throat. He looked out at the crowd, then back at Rusev, and said 3 words that were caught on the ambient mics: "On the dust." He lifted Rusev for a powerbomb. Rusev fought it, punching Femi's bloodied forehead. Femi stumbled, his foot caught a wire, and they both went down. Not a controlled fall. A chaotic, twisting collapse. They didn't just break the table, they obliterated it. The structure didn't just snap in half, it exploded into toothpicks. The impact was so loud it drowned out the crowd. When the dust settled, there was no winner. There were just 2 broken bodies lying in a heap of electronics and splinters. The medical staff rushed in with backboards, but as soon as they touched Femi, he swatted them away. He crawled out of the wreckage, his suit pants torn to shreds, his face a mask of blood, and he just stared at Rusev, who was being tended to by 3 doctors. Femi didn't say a word. He just stood up, spat blood on the floor, and limped toward the back. Rusev, meanwhile, forced himself to a seated position, coughing and pointing a trembling finger at the departing Femi. This isn't over. This is barely the prologue. Backstage, the tension was just as high. We're hearing reports that Adam Pearce had to lock his office door because both men were trying to get back at each other even after the cameras stopped rolling. The locker room is divided. The younger talent is terrified of Femi's rage, while the veterans are rallying behind Rusev, seeing him as the last line of defense against this new, violent wave. One thing is for certain, the Raw announce team is going to need a new desk, and the WWE is going to need a much bigger cage if they want to settle this. This rivalry has the potential to be the most physical feud we've seen in the modern era. It reminds us of the days when wrestling felt less like a show and more like a fight for survival. Oba Femi has officially arrived on the big stage, and he didn't just walk through the door, he blew the hinges off. And Rusev? He just proved that the Bulgarian Brute isn't a nickname, it's a warning. But now, I want to hear from you. The Wrestling Impact community is the smartest in the business. Was Femi's assault a sign of a future world champion, or did he bite off more than he can chew with a veteran like Rusev? Who do you think walked away with the psychological edge after that table collapse? This is the kind of storytelling that makes us love this business, and we want to hear your wildest theories on where this goes next. If you want more deep dives into the most explosive moments in wrestling, you're in the right place. We're tracking every movement of the Nigerian ruler and the Bulgarian Brute as they head toward an inevitable collision at the next PLE. Do us a massive favor, smash that like button if you want to see a last man standing match between these two. Hit subscribe and ring that bell so you're the first to know when the next update drops. We're just getting started tonight. The ring might be broken, but the spirit of the fight is stronger than ever. This is Wrestling Impact, and we'll see you at ringside for the next round. Would you like me to analyze the potential stipulations for their upcoming rematch or look into the backstage heat following the brawl?